Hello again, everybody. I'm Jennifer Hamilton.
And I'm Evan Keller.
This is our second topic in our series of videos. It's titled Child Advocacy, Utilizing a Multidisciplinary Team. I'm sure many of you have heard the quote, "Many hands make light work." If you haven't, it's a good one. I've researched several times who actually said that. The name that came up several times was John Haywood. I can't be sure if he's the one that actually said the quote, but I think he had it right. Another person that I think personally had it right was, and many of you will know who I'm talking about, Judge Andrew Valdez. He's a retired juvenile court judge here in the 3rd District. He always said that it takes a village to raise a child. That was his whole philosophy behind things. That's how he created the Village Mentor program with the 3rd District Juvenile Court. I worked for him for several years, and it does. It literally takes a village to raise a child sometimes. And I think that goes with the teams that and the agencies that surround families several times. I think that that's part of what it means to it takes a village. It doesn't just mean family sometimes. We're talking here, about creating multidisciplinary teams. It goes into decreasing one person or one agency's work, but increasing the supports surrounding an individual or family. And I think that's really important.
It is. Well, and we're going to explain, we actually utilize multiple multidisciplinary teams with what we do. And so the philosophy behind that is kind of where I wanted to start with before Jennifer explains a little bit more of kind of the nuts and bolts of what we do. So I think it starts, if you really look, what is your goal? It's very easy, so say you take law enforcement. It's very easy for me to look and say, well, I'm going to make that arrest. I'm going to solve that case. I'm going to do those kinds of things and see that as my goal. I think, you can look at social work and, sometimes it's closing a case. But all of those are very short-sighted goals, and we need to resist the temptation just because we're busy to get tied up in that type of thinking. Really, the goal is to make a measurable improvement in somebody's life, maybe in a family's situation, that kind of thing. And so when we stop and look at it that way, we definitely are responsible for a piece of that, but we're not responsible for the whole thing because no one agency is really capable of dealing with all of the needs of the family or individual that they're trying to help. So as you break it down, there's going to be some kind of, instigating event. Something's going to happen. From my side, criminal investigation is going to happen, a complaint's going to happen, DCFS might be called about something, and we're going to be told that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. As we go in and look at that, if we find that there really is a problem, traditionally there's going to be domestic violence, there's going to be some kind of substance abuse going on, there's going to be abuse of each other, be it verbally, mentally, physically, it runs the spectrum, but these are kind of the continual ingredients of the problems that we deal with. And then in addition to that, very frequently, especially for the children that are involved, there's some kind of lack of support. There's, kind of that self-doubt that kids end up getting inside of them and nobody to help them move past it. And so their environment sets them up to have a hard time succeeding in life, and without some kind of support to move them past that, then they can be destined for failure, or we can see repeated, generational problems and breakdowns in families and individuals' lives. So as you're looking at this idea of these multidisciplinary teams, I hope that you can take a little bit of a step back, look at how you're working and what your focus is with the work that you do, and say, is there a way that I could expand so that I'm reaching out and trying to make a long-term impact, that I'm putting things in place that will really change somebody's life. And as Jennifer's going to talk about, who can help me do that, because obviously we can't do it all ourselves.
Do we have any case examples that we could share?
We do, and as I've thought about that, one of the important things obviously is respecting people's privacy, but what happens, on a very, very consistent basis is that, especially as a family crimes investigator, I'll run into a situation where there's domestic violence going on. And then out of that, as we start to dig in and go and talk to people, we start to look at the history, then we'll find that they're children, we'll find that maybe the children are struggling in school, and that maybe there's suicidal ideation with the kids because they're depressed as a result of what's happening. We might find that there's substance abuse in the home. And this is a very regular kind of thing. As we screen through our cases, we'll find 2 or 3 a month consistently that we know that there are the problems that I just talked about, and that if we could get some outside support, we could really make a difference. So what happens is we take those cases and we share information with this multidisciplinary team that we have as far as who we're concerned about and why, and ask them to come and meet with us and bring whatever insights that they can bring about that individual or that family. And then we're able to sit down together and start looking and saying, okay, so if the police investigation, is going in a certain direction and is going to have consequences in the family's life, what's that going to mean in the school? Is there some kind of therapy option that can help? What's the Division of Child and Family Services doing? What's their investigation showing them? Do we each have information we can share with each other? And as you do that, you really set yourself up to make a difference in that family's life, and also to make sure that you're not working against each other as far as agencies that are trying to help, or that you're not wearing the family out by continually offering kind of the same solutions in different ways and just confusing them as far as what they can do.
Well, I think also tiring the family by having multiple agencies there all the time.
Right.
If you can break it down to DCFS has to be there, the police has to be there, but how can you limit that contact in several occasions in order to provide a lesser impact on the family and what they're going through, and still at the same time provide those supports. So I think those multidisciplinary teams are important for that fact, because the school may or may not know about a situation that is coming up. And if they don't know, great, we've got those resources right there in that team. They take it back to the school, they get the social worker or the therapist involved. And then you're lessening the time that an officer has to go out and make that contact again, and possibly,
chronic cases.
Yeah,
I find too,
chronic cases.
patrol will come with us, we're going here all the time and nothing changes, and then all of a sudden you can get some real change by bringing in this multidisciplinary component.
Yeah. So our multidisciplinary team that we have is called the CARI team, CARI. It stands for Child at Risk Intervention. And so many of you actually probably have teams like this that are actually working within your agency and actually with other agencies for other reasons. Right. Staffing cases to see different areas of the needs of a family and what that looks like. I think most agencies I am aware of actually staff cases on a regular basis, and that is with other agencies. So I think this is actually something that's easily accomplished if you're already doing it for other reasons, and I think that's easy to do. If you don't have a team that works like this yet, reach out into the community to see if there are other multidisciplinary agents or teams that are already going in the community that you could be a part of. It's easy to find them. It's going to support the community and make the families have those services that they need. So let's see here.
Some of it, I think, is who is on our team is a good starting point for them.
Yeah. So, and I also think, I guess I should say that our team, our CARI team, it's not a burdensome meeting. Right. We meet once a month.
Right.
And we get a lot done in even just the hour that we meet. And so there's never any oh my gosh, I have to go to this meeting again. Yeah. It never happens that way. It's just we all show up, we get it done, and we're done. But you're right. I think it's important to talk about who you can invite to a team. So for example, our team is comprised of, and please help me if I forget somebody, because I will feel very, very bad. But we have DCFS, we have the school district. And on top of just school district, we actually have the specialty teams that kind of show up and help support, like truancy cases. Truancy is very important. It's been a very hot topic in the legislation even. Yeah. So getting those specialty teams to show up and support. We have juvenile court that comes. We have our school resource officers, and if they can't come, their sergeant comes to help with the cases, because they might have a case that they've noticed within the school that is very needs the attention, We have other local agencies, domestic violence services agency that comes to the team. We have youth services type agencies that come to the team. Department higher-ups from our police department come because...
Especially person crimes.
Yes, person crimes.
Because they're aware of some of these families.
Yeah, and we're always adding. We're always looking to better our team for the community. So we're always thinking outside the box, as I said, to try and invite new people to the team, because there's got to be another agency out there that we're not utilizing yet that would be perfect for an addition to the team. So I never think that there's not a way to stop inviting people until the room is full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the homeless liaison.
And they're part of the school program, so I'm sorry that I didn't mention them specifically. But yes, we have a homeless school liaison that works with the school district, and but the information that they have is just outstanding, and the support that they can provide not just to the school districts but to the children in the homeless community has been outstanding. So
it's a powerful team. I just think we had our meeting the other day, and I walked in with 4 cases that I just didn't feel that I could fully resolve and was done with, and walked out with them at a point where I did feel like my part was resolved, just because of this ability to engage other people in helping, and then I can document that we've done things to move the process along, which is powerful as far as getting work done while helping people, I think. So one thing I was going to hit is just some of the potential barriers, basically.
yeah, there are a few of those.
Yeah, and as I was trying to think about it, I really feel like they boil down into 2 areas. One of them is going to be legal and policy type barriers, and then the other one is really just mindset. As far as legal and policy goes, there's we're going to put some forms and things in the description below that you can look at as far as waivers, confidentiality agreements, those kinds of things. We'll also put the information on the House bill that allows for a chief of police or a sheriff to create a child protection unit that can facilitate sharing of information. So I would just suggest, if this is something you're not doing but want to do, that look at your policies, look at the information on the laws, talk to the people within your organization who are in charge of making sure you're acting correctly, and then do it. And that's just the other piece of it, is this idea of mindset. It's really easy to make excuses of why we're not going to do anything that maybe seems better but it's a little bit different from what we've done, and that's completely counterproductive. If you want something different than what you've got, then you cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results. In fact, that's actually the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, or a definition, and expecting different results, right? So something like doing this, stop thinking about why you can't do it and start thinking about how you could. What could we do differently? How can we change things so that we can have a greater impact and be more successful in helping people? And you will find a way. There are so many good people who go into service industries because they want to help people. So that's why we're here. And so we should be actively looking for ways to do it better and help more people.
Yeah, and then people think, oh, I'm limited in helping them because I've only seen this much of it. But then when you get a carry team or a team like it changes the books. When the carry team actually first started, it was started, I think I said earlier, back in 2005 on the previous video. And it was actually a way to create another team to kind of support victim advocacy, because they were realizing that in every home there was several kids or several teenagers. And those, although the domestic violence might have been happening a lot in those areas, we weren't specifically addressing the children in that area. And so they had broken it up into several different areas to help support those kids. It's now kind of evolved and changed throughout the years to create the Family Crimes and Intervention Unit team, and then adding those extra components with the multidisciplinary team of the carry team. So we've changed the situation and revolved around it to what our needs were, just kind of like anybody can do in their agencies. So the biggest thing that I can say that happened recently is you talked about the barriers of the sharing of the information. And yes, there are ways to just have everybody sign a waiver and the confidentiality agreement that everybody takes care of it. And that does take care of it. It's great. It's great. It holds up. It works. But this courageous woman, probably back in 2016, I would say, a couple of years ago, this courageous citizen, she stepped forward and said, not enough is being done. I want support. I want more support for the situation that just occurred. And she went to a senator, Senator Lincoln Fillmore, and together they realized the need for they had a larger vision in mind about how those families and those children could be helped. And that's where Senate Bill 75 came from. And it passed legislation, and you had mentioned it. It's the Child Protection Unit. It allows any sheriff's department or any chief of police to create a child protection unit. And within that child protection unit, it specifically states different people that should be invited into that child protection unit. And that includes people like DCFS and schools and therapists and things like that. So really, our child protection unit actually evolved as the Carry team because we already were doing that. This just essentially broke down those barriers of sharing that communication without having to have everybody sign a waiver or a confidentiality agreement every time we'll hear. So we'll have a copy of that Senate bill and the current legislation in the information and resources link in the description below, of course. And so I think the biggest thing to say is just with that Senate bill that came around, our team was actually the model for it because of everything we were already currently doing. And it just actually, I think it expanded more what we could do. Right. There are still some limited barriers that we do. There are certain agencies that still aren't listed in the Child Protection Unit that struggle with sharing that information. So there's still some of those barriers. I think the confidentiality agreements are still a great idea if you're struggling with some of those barriers. So don't hesitate to use them if needed. But this legislation is still ongoing. It had a 2-year sunset this last year, and legislation believed in it enough that they're continuing it for another 2 years. So now we've got till 2020 to see if this is going to continue to work. And I think it's going to keep working. And I think more people are going to get into using a child protection unit or a Carry team or a multidisciplinary team, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It's all the same. A child protection unit is simply that. You're utilizing the agencies in your community to access information and resources in order to support the families like we've been talking about. It's still all about a mindset versus a way to do things.
Yeah.
So.
And that leads in, I was just going to wrap up my part with talking about a pilot program that I was part of working with DCFS. So they have an office here in Sandy, and we actually go, or I'll go and meet with them, once or twice a month, face to face, and not with the severe, the sexual abuse or severe abuse team. That one tends to get, pretty good coordination between detectives or through the Children's Justice Center. But I'll go and meet with the abuse team and the domestic violence, on these cases that usually aren't going to make it all the way over to the Children's Justice Center, but where there are children that are really at risk in those homes, and there are things going on that are damaging to those kids, so they need help. Obviously, all of the child abuse and neglect reports have to be shared with the police department, so agencies get stacks of those. And I've heard agencies talk about how they struggle with knowing what to do with them. And so that's part of how we deal with that, is we go and talk to them, and then between the information that we have and the information that they have, we'll look and see what the needs are for those families. Is it something that is going to be taken care of completely on their end? Are there ways that I can come out and assist them? Are there criminal components that I need to follow up on, or that our police department needs to follow up on? Is there long-term follow-up that maybe once they're done needs to get passed along to Jennifer so that she can work with the family? There are just a lot of benefits that come with taking the time to get to know these people. I like the fact that I can go and talk with the workers face to face, because then they know me, and if they have a question, they can call me up And when I have a question, I can call them up and we're able to share information very easily back and forth. It could also be done over the phone. Again, this comes back to you figure out a way that you can do it. But I promise you that if you will work and look at each other as partners, and find ways to work together, and if there are issues, talk about them and fix them. You can, obviously there are certain things about a police investigation that need to be kept confidential, and people should understand that, right? And there are certain things that a CPS worker could be doing with a child that we need to time what we're doing on our end. And if we talk to each other, we can actually figure out how to do that. And again, with that long-term goal of we're trying to make things better, we're trying to improve a situation here, not simply check something off of our list.
Yeah, I just want to share a couple thoughts with you in concluding all of this, and that is that there are other police agencies in particular that are actually taking on this multidisciplinary team or this child protection unit, and it looks nothing like ours does at all. But they're making it work, and they've figured out how to, kind of like what you said, figure out how to work their system versus working our system. It works. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't have to take a lot of effort. It doesn't have to take a lot of shuffling of positions in order to make it work. So they're making it fit to their needs. We're making it fit to ours. Again, it's a mindset. And I think another important thing, we've talked about the legislation behind the Child Protection Unit. It's the state legislation. So yes, it covers the whole state. But don't be afraid to check city ordinances as well in your local areas. There might be something within those local ordinances that will also support creating a team and how to share information, things like that. If there's not, reach out to your current people there and see what's going on. I think that's important as well. And then I just want to say, don't forget that we're all common agencies working towards a common good. And I think that's the important part that you can take away from this, is just we're creating an area that is already being used, but maybe not utilized, I think is really important. And so I just have one final quote, and I'm usually good at providing really funny quotes at the end because you want to make sure people are still listening, right? And it says, teamwork divides the tasks and multiplies the success. I think that's exactly what we're talking about here. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to us, and we'll see you again soon. This is a series of videos that we're completing here. Evan actually called them, I think, a gaggle of videos. Works for me. But we're going to put up on the screen right now the list of the topics that are going to be covered in the next several videos. So you'll see those. And then below in the description area, you're actually going to find links for the following things. One is a survey to take, just to give us feedback. We always love feedback, positive, bad, we want it all. And then there's a quiz. One of the things that we are working on doing is getting credit for everybody that will be viewing these videos. So if you take the quiz, we can prove that you've taken them, and you can get credit for watching these videos separately. And when I say credit for everybody, we're looking for posts, we're looking for any of the officers that need credit for ongoing training, CEUs for social workers, and we're looking into educationally what that looks like as well. So please stick with us, watch these videos. They're going to be super helpful, and you'll get credit for them, of course. So, and then finally, we've got an information and resources link that we're going to have a whole host of information that we're going to be sharing that might be important for you guys to look up or access at any point in time after this. And then finally, what you'll see coming across the screen is also our contact information. I think that's very important for everybody to have. It'll also be in the description below as well. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And so we hope that you'll stick with us and give the rest of the trainings a view.